A very good morning and a hearty welcome to everyone. This is Shraddha Mishra, Ambassador of Change from GETI, that is Global Education and Training Institute. I would be honored to tell about GETI. It is founded and conceptualized by Dr. Sunita Gandhi under the broad vision of disruptive education. It is one of the most premium training institutes of India. Under it, we provide two types of training. One is pre service training, where we train aspiring teachers who wish to be outstanding teachers in future. And the other is in service training, where we train teachers who are already in service. Under these live forums, we conduct live detox, where we invite bureaucrats, policymakers, researchers, entrepreneurs from around the globe to enlighten us with the varied educational practices carried out under the spectacular vision of Dr. Gandhi. Today, this morning, I'm very privileged and thrilled to welcome with us on board Mr. Niraj Kumar Sinha, Principal of Firaya Lal Public School, Ranchi, Jharkhand. Welcome to you, sir. Mr.
Thank you.
Niraj Kumar Sinha is an enthusiastic principal with superb leadership and communication skills, easily cultivate trusting and productive relationship with students, parents, teachers, and administration. Demonstrated history fostering environment of individualizing instruction based on students' needs and interest, strives to help change students' marginal grades into good grades, encourages socialization, motivates team spirit, and helps make learning an enjoying process. Promote world citizenship in students is the age of globalization and the technology. So you have created benchmarks, and there is so much and so forth to learn from you. We invite you today on this forum, and today he'll be talking about students' accountability in online learning in depth. So now, without a much ado, we'll be hearing your valuable input, sir. You may first introduce your topic, and then we can proceed with the presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Shraddha, for a warm welcome and much more about me than what I actually feel in myself. This is almost my third decade in education. And in my journey, I have always tried to see the best connect between the person who is imparting education and the person who is going to gain the knowledge. Coming to the topic which you shared to me, that how to make students more accountable through this new methodology of teaching, which is online teaching. I virtually remember, it was 2020 March when this pandemic all of a sudden came. And then we were supposed to find out some different tool and method where our kids and the family members should be safe enough and their education should not be disrupted. So we started with different methods, that what to do, what not to do, and how to come out with all these parameters and other things. So we adopted the method of online teaching. We found out some software which can be very helpful and handy. And then since I belong to Ranchi, so we need to upgrade all those students and the parents to come on this platform, which was for some of them it was very difficult because some of them were not so techno savvy. They might be using mobile, but they were not so friendly to all those applications which they needed. So it was initial days, the month of March and April, I started up making them understood what it is and how it is, and then a mindset of parents who were middle in between the best one and the average one, not ready to accept this method of online learning will be very fruitful or will be that much effective, and when they go to the class they get it. So those all were the challenges, but somehow it was excellent, and it was for me a learning experience, for my teachers also a learning experience. And at the end, within 4 or 5 months, the parent also realized that the student were not deprived of those things which they were supposed to get it from school through the teachers. Yeah, certain parts are there which definitely they have missed, but I don't say that it's a total lack of in this situation and scenario. What else can be done? They cannot put their child at home to wait for the situation to improve and then the things will be all right. in and things were going good. So then after came that topic which is given to me, that is how to make the students more accountable. That is really a very challenge, because during the class hours the teachers have different methods to know them, to find out where the gaps are there. But in online, I mean, it was not that a easy task. But then with the time passes of time, I tried, I strived, and I did many things, many new innovations I brought into the shape. And then ultimately my school is now in a best position to see that. So let me start by explaining when I say what is accountability. I mean, accountability is a word which I say is really to find out that how much your trust is really working. If a responsibility is given and that is tracked and the result comes out, then that is accountability. As a school leader, as the head of the school, I always have the accountability with my teachers. But when you talk about the teachers, it's good. I mean, responsibility is given, and we can ask them, okay, how much you have achieved, and where is the gap, and what other things we can do it. So that is the full. So to me, accountability is the action of being held responsible for the results obtained after performing a given activity. It is a situation where what is being delivered is reviewed and evaluated. So, for a teacher, for a worker, it is easy. But for a student, how to go about? Normally, accountability is a judgmental process to know that next time whether we should give another part of a duty on trust or not. But in a student case, what you can do, I mean, if I make student accountable that these are the things which I want to see after the online classes, and if they don't do, and if I make it judgmental, that may not work. So here, the thing what I developed, or what I told my teachers to do, is that be little bit non-judgmental, make them accountable, listen to them, that how this online is going with them. If there is some gap, find, note down the gaps, sit with your colleagues, discuss what has to be done with that particular student, and then suggest it. So to me, even though it was accountable, but it was not non-judgmental. Coming to this student ability in online, accountability in online learning. For an online learning course to succeed, student must be held accountable in a non-judgmental way for engaging in all essential and required course requirement. In order to enforce these expectations, instructors, I mean teachers, must be diligent to give feedback to students, both meeting expectations and those lacking in certain areas. In class, whenever a teacher is there to teach, they always follow certain set of questions, and they are free to ask any questions through their body language. But in online classes, I mean, the method needs to be a little bit changed. So my teacher explained them, even though I am teaching on in online mode through Google Meet or through Zoom app, I'm giving you all stuff what best I can give it to you. It may be I'm using a small board also, or I'm using certain PPTs, but you need to be ready to accept it. So for acceptance in a regular classes also, as a student, when they come to the class, they know what topic is going to be taught today. They have a pre-preparations. Here also they should have the pre-preparations. And the system of teaching which we used to follow, that opening time, teaching time, and closing time, was still working. But closing time was not like that, that in the last 5 minutes teacher is going to ask. Teacher randomly used to ask any of the student. And the students were told that when the question is asked, your video mode must be on. Another factor was that I made it very compulsory in the school system, in my school, that when you are sitting for online classes, you'll be sitting well in uniform. So that was the thing. This was done here. Then I, being a leader of an education institute, have always tried to motivate my workforce to be accountable and responsible towards their commitment. I delegate them some responsibility. I give them the benchmark for the marks, for the knowledge, and I want to access it. So I try to inculcate the same values into the student as well. On the other hand, it is a justified reality that this pandemic has triggered an unprecedented demand for technology in all spheres of education system. Inside this online arena, we have also included education. It was never. Now, first time it had come into this. This is a way, this in a way have encouraged collaboration and coordination between parent, teacher, student, and the outside world. So here the parent were also made little bit accountable that when the classes are going on, my teachers are now more of in lecture mode. You become the active teacher, the support teacher to see the child is sitting in front of mobile or laptop or iPad and listening carefully and putting them in their mind in reality to understand what is going on. So here the accountability again started very good. It's going good. Now, the next slide is telling you, let us go through an example to understand accountability. I have just frame, I got it through the internet, and this is one of the best example to understand more about accountability. Mr. Smith is a certified public accountant. He works independently for a handful of private business, providing bookkeeping service and tax advices. He has four people team to help him carry the load of work that comes into his office daily. So he is dependent on the four people. These team members manage different clients and they mostly do the bookkeeping tasks while Mr. Smith focus on more complex accounting matter. He conducts a staff meeting each Monday to get updates about the current situation of each client, and in this meeting team members have to present a weekly report of what they have done during the last week and what are the most pressing matters to be addressed with the each client. This particular fact I used to be in my school that we have 5 days working. So Saturday I used to have a meeting to get the feedback in the form of accountability by the teachers. Mr. Smith also has a weekly call with each of the office which explains just a minute, and that office people also go on giving the feedback to Mr. Smith that where the things are going on, what way the things are going on, and then he take all those things into his mindset and develop some new methods whereby again the accountability of each staff increases and the environment of the office increases. Likewise, in my school, when I talk to my teachers on Saturday, they used to give me small feedbacks that how the response is going on, how they are connected to the student, how much the parents are there to support them, and thereby if something is new where I need to evolve with the teacher's consent, I used to find out a new method and that start getting implemented. Secondly, what I did also that I used to have orientation with all my parents in small segment on a fortnightly basis. And I used to praise the parent that you are doing wonderful job. I mean, you people are really the people who I can say the real stakeholder to my school. I made them proud that you are doing the major job. My teachers are there to teach them, to make them understand a topic, but you people are the workforce behind that to see that the connect between the teacher and your child is maximum. So these were the things which I have utilized and the example which I threw there. Now, if I go for the pillars of accountability, the very first pillar is responsibility. And the responsibility is given, embedded, and inseparable from the course of action. So, this is first of the point. The second is answerability. If a question is answerable, you have to respond to it. But if a person is unanswerable, C is responsible for something. The way a team captain is answerable for the behavior of the team as a whole. The third pillar is trustworthiness, a trait of being worthy of trust and confidence. The fourth point is liability, being legally bound to a debt or obligations. So these are the four pillars which, if anyone uses in their life, the process of accountability is more close to the result. Now, coming to the final part, which is very important, that online learning accountability for the student. This was the topic which I was supposed to discuss. Until now, I have explained you. I mean, what is this accountability and how we can really utilize this particular tool. So, coming to this online learning, which was happening for the student, and how to make the student more accountable in a sense, to more responsible, to come close to the real essence of teaching, I have certain suggestions which I'll be showing you. And it says, while the ease of access for online learning course make them indispensable for many students, they are also an easy pace for some students to hide and do the bare minimum just to get by. This had happened. So here I have just taken the help my parents. It should not be like that you have switch on your mobile or laptop and sitting in front of it, or even though you are not sitting in front of it, you are keeping the uh, video mode off, or even the audio is supposed to be off, and you are not there. So that way it is just the same that you are sitting in the class, but you are physically present, but you are not listening anything. So here we made it without face-to-face instruction and reinforcement to snap them into focus. Student can unwittingly lose accountability for their role in a learning process. While it's hard to spot this and act accordingly in an online learning environment, it's essential that the teacher work hard to cultivate a culture of learners accountability in online class. Because when something happens good in a class of a teacher for any topic, of any subject, the factor wow comes. Now, the tragedy is it is not in face to face, children are sitting far away. But when this effect is continued from there also, then it is super. I mean, the learning outcome will be super. So it was seen in majority of the classes by certain teachers that wow effect was working even though it was online classes. The next is, unless learners are held responsible for putting the time and effort to get the most out of the online environment, these online content won't live up to their potential. In fact, they will just be time waster for both the teacher and the student involved. So this I used to share to the student whenever I have the orientation with them. That's just sitting in front of a mobile or a digital mode of learning, and you are just listening. Then you are not only killing your time, you are killing the valuable time of a teacher, because in these period of almost 18 to 20 months, my teachers had worked much more than what earlier they would have worked. They were into 24 into 7 into 365, preparing everything, then presenting, then teaching, then asking questions, and a set of another works were already there. That if they are not sincere or if they are not present, then through phone call, through mail, through WhatsApp, just to get the report that what was the reason the child is not there, which was not a practice before this online. So I made the student to understand that please feel the pain and agony of your teachers. They are not in the school premises, they are at their residence. Lot many dependents are on them. They are also have the expectation. So the golden time they are giving to you, So please give them that result which will make them feel proud. Yes, you have done it. Now, the next topic is the goal is to set expectations and hold your student accountable for meeting them. For an online learning course to succeed, a student must be accountable for engaging in all essential and required course requirement. Whether that participant is time stamped by the e-learning application itself or the honor system is employed, student must be held to a standard of complete engagement and nothing less. Sorry, just a minute. So, in a general trend of learning, you need to have pre and post time utility. You should have initial knowledge about the topic which the teacher is going to teach. And after listening the details of the topic, some new idea must be generated in you. Some critical thinking must work. So after the classes, the student should have ample thing to think about it and snatch the brain to find out some new innovations and present it next day or next time whenever the teacher is there to take the class. So when this is happening, the students are showing those things in the online classes. It also boosts the other student to do something. Because in online classes, we cannot pressurize the student. We cannot push the student to be in the class and to listen it and to understand it. Rather than the word which I feel to use it and I use it was to nudge them. Slowly you push them so that they should feel it. There is no other way. It's the only way which they can use it to see the growth in their educational life. The second point it says, in addition, a set of ground rule must be laid out for how students conduct themselves in an online learning environment. These rules should run the gamut and for engagement to the quality of discourse. These rules should be laid out in a plain language and posted on the site for easy access at any time. Like when a teacher is teaching in the class, the best way to see the concentration in the class for all the student is that you don't ask any doubt in between when the lecture is going on. You keep the doubt in your mind, and when the teacher is free or when the teacher gives you the time, that time you ask. So in online classes, it was mandatory that no student will keep the microphone on. It was in the control of the teacher. And when the teacher is there to ask any question to any student, that very moment the microphone will be on and the student will be allowed to answer the question when the student is in school uniform and when the video is on. So every student was very sincere because they were not aware which very moment the question will be asked. I already had said my parents were also made equally important as the school teacher. So most of the time in the lower classes, lower segment, primary segment, I found that parents were also sitting with their children. And when this thing is happening and the student is not responding or the student is not following the minimum requirement for online classes, it's a straight way the parent is there to realize that how the child it is. So ultimately, the connect between my teacher and the parent and the student became very high. Every day they speak to their own child that where you were good, where you need to be more good. And they were the one who were utilizing the rest part of the time. Normally, the school is for 6 hours, but in online classes, we were going for 4 hours. So 20 hours was with them, I mean, the parent, to really utilize it. If I talk about a school which is for 6 hours, if you talk about coming and going, it comes all together into 9 hours. So those 3 hours were also saved. They don't have to come out from the house. They need to be prepared there. They need to be seated in the room, and the environment should be quite silent or good, quite enough to listen those lectures. So that was there for them. The third, in order to enforce these expectations, instructor must be delighted to be giving feedback to student, both meeting expectations and those lacking in certain areas, but in a very positive way, not in a negative way. Yes, I was expecting this to be the answer from you, but then the answer what you have given was not up to that. So you need to revise or you need to consult certain other things for the knowledge and come up. So constant feedback and reinforcements are huge when it came to translate those things. I'm just coming, there is a confusion. The fourth point is empower your online student as people, not just as a manifestation of deity. One crucial aspect of facilitating accountability in an online learning environment is finding a way to appeal to your students' humanity. Instructors can do anything from developing an incentive plan for meeting and exceeding expectations to assigning real world breakout and the things they are learned in a greater sphere of things. In addition, instructors can add activities to the course workload that allows students to customize their own learning path based on their own particular learning efficacy areas and weaknesses. Anything that gets a measure of engagement will empower them as people. Empowering your student to look past the limitations of the online classroom and view it with a more human bent will force them to hold themselves accountable for their own learning. The more they are required to engage outside of normalized online learning activities, the more experience become humanized and worth being accountable for. So this was a very good tool. Concluding thoughts. For an online learning environment to be worth in weight, students must be engaged with the same level of vigor as they would be in a brick and a mortar classroom. This is only achieved by setting expectations and holding students accountable for them, along with giving students a reason to be motivated into true accountability for their learning experiences. As we used to do in the offline classes, when the classes used to be there, and when we want to know that how much they have understood, we used to have a small test. Normally, we used to conduct. It might be for the same topic or a topic which has been taken in the last 3 days. Here, technology also had helpers. My teachers were told to develop some Google form, MCQ pattern questions, and after the class, randomly, The link is shared and the students are supposed to answer them. And on the basis of the feedback of the answer, the teacher also realizes that the learning is happening. And if it is not, the next very class, the teachers are there to speak to them and make them that things is not going proper. Here I will also say that most of the school there is a problem that hour is limited. It is 5 days working, 40 periods are there, so many subjects are there. But when online classes started, I developed a new thing which was remedial class in the evening. In a normal practice, after the school hours, if you have to tell a student or a parent that we want to conduct some extra classes, it's really a problem for the teacher as well as for the child and the parent. But here, online classes, we utilize the evening hours in a very set pattern, and we were having some remedial classes in the form of a timetable, and the students were told to come in that remedial classes. So any type of gap is there where there was some gap is there between the students learning and teachers teaching. The teacher was there to take the remedial classes. So this was one additional 1 hour extra classes thrice in a week, or somewhere it is 5 days a week, which was there in every class. So the learning hour started increasing. When in evening the teacher goes to the class, will take some definitely be there to take a feedback that how you have utilized your timetable. I mean, how productive was today. I adopted a method here in my school that online classes was of 35 minutes. I used to have 6 period maximum, but after each of the 2 period, there was a gap of 10 minutes. They need a rest. I mean, they cannot strain that much. So 2 period, then a gap of 10 minutes, then again 2 period, then a gap of 10 minutes. And the period was 6, not for all the classes. For pre-primary or primary, the period were 3, 4, or 5. And as in higher classes, we go for 6 period. In addition to that, remedial class was there in the evening. So this became more productive. I mean, the result was increasing day by day. The teacher used to feel very happy. Yeah, things are going in the right direction. Now, the next is how to make digital learning meaningful in this 21st century. The question is how will we create a stimulus package of tools, resources, and engagement methods that will allow us to stimulate and educate the minds of millions of students who were stuck at home due to this pandemic. To make this happen, we need to try new approaches to bring the most important part of school into a virtual infrastructure that can support each student's need. School is so much more than academics. It also provides tutoring, counseling, and focus of holistic development. But sometimes these resources were only available around the school days. Now that we are adapting to a time when the school day no longer exists, it's more challenging for students to access these resources due to limited virtual opportunities. The silver lining here is that these adjustment or transformation to adopt the online regime is helping students evolve a different and positive perspective towards it and accept it as an inevitable phenomenon. Now, COVID 19 has given us no other option but to embrace this vulnerable period with courage. Now, I'm coming to my point as a principal. What is my thought process? We have no critically understand that try to shoulder responsibility on behalf of our children here. This is our opportunity to evolve and modernize an educational system that desperately need to meet student demand wherever they are. We cannot allow this period to become just a supplement to our physical school because our student needs adults to teach their digital stewardship. To make the most this difficult and uncertain time, there are three areas of opportunity for at-home learning plan and virtual schooling that school districts should keep in mind as they lead their students, families, and communities through this adaptive time. So till now, I was explaining how to make the students more accountable to see the learning outcome is happening. Now, to increase the accountability, previously teacher could hold student accountable by direct supervising them in the classroom. The virtual learning mode that are being built should emulate this environment and use the power of relationship and check-ins during the school days. One way to do this remotely is by having student log into Zoom or being any other applications like Google Meet from their free phone app. These apps will show the teacher which student are on screen paying attention or the lesson plan or which one are browsing on other tab. In fact, Zoom has published a comprehensive guide on how to evaluate the virtual classroom. I mean, there are many softwares nowadays it is coming where we track everything. The next is deepen relationship. Here, my thought process is like this. Most people think online learning is where you record content, use technology to scale capacity, and reduce the need for one to one interaction. The opposite is true. The internet is a place to expand student network and to increase their social capitals. We have to teach students how to create meaningful connections and opportunities by positively participating in our global economy and wherever they can get an internet connection. If we want students to succeed in a workplace, we can't just show them how to communicate in physical space. We can use this opportunity as a teaching moment and how to thrive in a connected world. So, in our brick classroom, I mean the classroom which earlier we used for a physical and now we are going to visual. In that limited space of time, the students were not having that much time to discuss with each other on certain critical issues related to their academics. But this online classes had helped them to get a very good connect between them. And whenever they want to clarify their doubts, they can speak to each of them. They can get the resources through internet, through Google, and the knowledge starts increasing. The confidence starts building. Now, this is the embrace mobile and technology. This is the largest opportunity at a home learning model. Kids in middle school today are the same age as in iPhone. The amount of uh, assumed information that we have collected as the desktop generation goes over this mobile generation head. Kids are more comfortable with direct messaging on Instagram or Snapchat than uh, carbon copy on email. This communication barrier is going to expose our vulnerabilities to connect outside the school. But we need to lead by examples and showcase a growth mindset to engage our student effectively. This means shifting activities we normally associate with classroom to the online environment. Fifth one, the skill the next generation will need for success. Being successful look different to everyone. It comes in all shapes and size. But one thing that most people can agree on is that includes feeling content and secure. One of the ways to offer this security is by opening as many doors to opportunity as possible by learning valuable life skills. So, how will the next generation be able to do that? While trends come and go, and the economy and culture can change, there are some skills that every person will need to have to get ahead. Number one is critical thinking. Very important. Being able to think for you is a key skill at a time where the concept of career and the workplace is changing. Critical thinking is clearly self directed and self disciplined. So, you will need to be able to think for yourself in a realistic and meaningful way. As it is said by Albert Einstein, education is not the learning of facts, but the training of the mind to think. This generation is going to need to go beyond taking notes and remembering information for important examination. They will need education teaching them to think for themselves and solve problems in real time. Developing this ability early on will only stand to benefit today's student and tomorrow's leader. As our Prime Minister says, that you study, you gain knowledge, and you gain knowledge in not that way where one day you will board to get a job as an employee. No, you gain knowledge in such a way that your critical thinking, your mindset will help you to come to new creativity. And then, in place of becoming an employer, you will become an employer. And that is all about Startup India. In these 2 years, many of them had come out with so many wonderful ideas, so many wonderful ideas. And the work is in progress. They are projecting their ideas, they are getting approved by the government authorities, they are getting fund and loans, they are starting their business, and they are giving job opportunities to young hands. Because a country with population of 135 million billions, we not have that much job. So when you are in this online platform, you are getting enough space to find out additional information related to the topic on which you are working, which practically was not possible earlier. Now they can explore anything from any area and they can carry on. So the globe is very small now. Earlier, if the teaching was in offline and the students were not knowing the benefits of all these things, they were limited to the teachers, they were limited to the libraries, they were limited to certain books. But now it is not. So they realize that this online system of teaching or understanding is much helpful. The second is adaptability. Navigating emerging technology is something most students and professionals need to do in their daily lives. While this can ultimately make life easier, it often comes with new circumstances. A fine example of this is how several companies use modern technologies to further their global presence. This results in top tier institutions encouraging their students to work remotely and take full advantage of the digital age. So they don't need to rush here and there for getting additional informations. They are getting from the place where they are. Now the communication skills. You need to have excellent communication. Good communication skills are very important, both in person and online. The next generation is going to need to excel in these, and every now and again, we will include having to lead the conversations. As mentioned above, there might be special circumstances to navigate, such as key member of a team who live in a different location. This is only one of the many scenarios that might mean people will need to be multifaceted and learn how to communicate using new mediums. And with most workplace using tools like Slack and Skype to communicate within their team, written communication is a major point. Reading comprehensions and writing skills have become crucial skills for a modern student. The next is understanding cultures. A deeper cultural understanding can lead to many positive interactions, better collaborations, and truly diverse conversations. Cultural understanding has been a key part of progress of future generation. With international or global platform, which is an important aspect of modern life, life will be a more progressive. So this online had helped us to understand the cultural diversity across countries, within the countries, initiative and drive. While competition is a normal part of achieving success in life, the world is more connected now than ever. So many will be competing on a much global stage than previous generation might have. You have to consider the fact this will mean that student will need to strive to compete with students from their own country along with several others. Having the initiative and drive to compete with the important element in navigating certain aspect of life, especially when it comes to career and educational opportunities. So finally, the conclusion is I hope in this unprecedented time, we need to make students accountable and responsible and committed towards online education. We can make online education impactful and resourceful and value oriented by engaging students and holding them accountable for their own development in all spheres of their life. The online accountability will compel students embrace the online platform and education in more positive way. So this was all about which I am shared with my small slide. And
Thank you, sir. Thank you for making us clear that how students can learn accountability in online classes in 21st century. Thank you so much. I have a very small question. Please allow me to ask.
yeah, please.
Yes, sir. So I wanted to know, sir, as you said, there are very limited virtual opportunities today in the 21st century. How do students with no access to technology and online platform learn accountability as a personal character trait for their lives?
See, at present, I'll just say when you are asking this, that those who don't have such facilities, I think it's very few of them are there. And then we can use, everywhere if you talk to me, internet might be a problem or something. So in some of the areas, we use some prepared notes and the slides and which we can transfer it through certain app which may not need a continuous internet connection, and they can open it, they can explore it, they can go through it. but definitely attending the classes through online session will have a better impact than these. But nevertheless, they are not going to suffer. They are not going to suffer. Yes.
Okay, so thank you for making your point clear, and thank you so much for such an insightful session. You drove back the point home so well by taking out time from your busy schedule. We're really grateful for it, sir, and your presence truly magnified the cause in the best possible way. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Shraddha. I also tried my level best. I mean, the things which I have done it in my school as a situation demanded, I did, and I prepared all those things. I hope you must have liked all those things, which might be fruitful to some people who were listening to me or enjoying this time. So, thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.